I'd still like to see us look at more part-time help, and like, why do we have Tom Crab mow lawn all summer? Why can't we hire a college kid or something for $8–10 an hour instead of paying him the wages? And that would free him up to work all summer for you, and then contracting out. I think there's other ways we should look at first. I'm not denying the fact we probably do need help at times, but let's look outside the box and try to look into the future and try to be more efficient and with our taxpayers' money. And just the easy way out is to hire another person.
Well, the whole thing is all the departments are revenue-based with the exception of the maintenance department. So, I mean, it's not like we haven't taken that much money out of the general fund before.
Curtis, you had your hand up a minute ago.
Well, one of the things I was going to talk about here is much along the lines of what Jim said. He was talking about hiring a part-time employee during the summer to do some mowing. You know, if you did that, the maintenance department would have another full-time guy. I mean, if it takes one guy sitting on a mower all summer long, pay someone $8 an hour.
So what happens in the wintertime when we have a winter like we did last year and you don't have an employee to come help plow?
Well, you've got...
I mean, you're paying over.
Isn't it required that everybody have a CDL?
No.
It's not required.
Not with the city.
Isn't that required in the... and I might be wrong about this. Isn't that required in Labor 1 that they have a CDL?
In this position it is.
Yeah, in this position it is.
Well, Jim, to address that, you know, I checked with another community, and I brought this up to me, that Lake City, for example, they hire part-time people during winter to help with their snow. Because they don't have to do that. They don't hire full-time people for the whole year. They hire part-time people, retired people in the community to help run some of their equipment to remove the snow. Union County also does the same on their roads. And they just hire part-time for the winter. So if you had the part-time for the summer to mow.
I will point something out that we all need to know too, and the members that were on the committee, we discussed this. From a temporary employment standpoint, understand that with the reason why you hire temporary employees is so that you don't have to fund benefits. That's really the concept behind why you go after hiring temporary employees. And in order for us to qualify for not having to pay benefits on an employee, they cannot receive more than $1,000 in 2 subsequent quarters. So in essence, a general course of action would be, is the longest I can keep any temporary employee will be roughly 2.5 months. And just as a general rule of thumb, that would be a good indicator to use. About 2.5 months is about how long we go on.
Between temporary and part-time?
They pay benefits to part-time. They work over 30 hours, right?
Well, yes, I have to. Anyway, if you're paying, I'm talking temporary. I'm not talking part-time. I'm talking temporary employees. Sorry, I must have misspoke. I meant temporary employees.
How much mowing is there?
Well, that's kind of contingent upon a few things. One is, for instance, how many people's yards we mow as a result of them not mowing their own yards. We charge them, and one of the actions that we take is that we mow it, and then we attempt to collect, and if they don't pay, then we assess it against we put it as a lien against the property taxes. A second thing is of course, the public properties that we maintain and mow. A third element of that has to be factored in is, of course, the weather. This last year, for instance, we ended up mowing a lot more than we usually do as a result of the variations of hot and wet over and over and over again for long periods of time over the summertime. We actually, Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say this was a very strenuous year from the perspective of a mowing.
Oh yeah, it definitely was.
And we also did see an uptick on the amount of people not taking care of their own lawns.
So if this is a big year, how many hours a week did your mower spend this year? Ballpark.
Well, I'm going to guess, I mean,
It was darn near full-time.
it was, I mean, probably 40 hours a week plus whatever the water plant did for them. And I mean, I know they didn't go out weekly, but I mean, even the water plant's got their own yard to mow, some of the well sites. I mean, it's a lot of work.
And we're also not talking about the fact, we also already do contract out some lawn services. We contract out the cemetery to the contractual manager out there. And then we contract out, of course, the care of the cemetery, which includes the mowing and upkeep of the cemetery. So we do have a precedent for some mowing contracts already within our system.
Does contracting count the same as temporary help when it comes to having to pay someone, having to give someone a benefit?
Well, for the purposes of contracting, what you will likely have to do, depending on the scope of the cost, you will be in a situation where you will be bidding that out. So I can't sit here and tell you exactly what that costs. Even if we set up a system, for instance, where we wanted to have a list, as Jim has mentioned previously, possibly having a list of those that are on contract with us, that they will provide that service for either an hourly rate or per lawn rate. One of the things I know we definitely should look at for next year would be the possibility of doing that with people's yards who aren't maintaining them. So we aren't taking away from our labor pool and their ability to get activities done as a result of taking care of people's yards who decide not to maintain their own yards.
May I continue? I don't want to. May I continue? Mayor?
I'm sorry?
Can I just continue? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yes. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
I'm sorry. I'm not speaking very loud. Let's say you contract out on a flat rate for someone to work 40 hours a week for 3 months to mow lawns, and they charge something crazy. Let's say $30,000. Let's say $35,000. How does that compare to a full-time employee? When you count in, you know,
short of a period of time, that would be very expensive. Like for instance,
well, yeah, but bottom line, it's not. I mean, it's more expensive if you were to take it out a full year, obviously. But as a bottom line, would that be cheaper than a full-time employee, or would that be
not over that period of time? No.
Well, I know you're talking about over that period of time.
You're taking into the assumption that I'm also going to hire part-time help during certain periods of the season to fill in that need as well. You could make the argument that no, you're really not saving anything in the long run, because I'm paying an absorbent amount during the summer for that contractual support. And then on the winter months, I would be saving money in the lower cost of finding people to provide those services in the winter months. But the concern there, and this is one thing you already pointed to before, if it's a position that might necessarily need a CDL license, I may actually have to pay more than $8 an hour just to actually even get somebody with a CDL to even apply for the job. I might point out that the last temporary position that we put out applications on, we only received back applications from 3 people living inside city limits that we even applied for the position.